All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So we will be taking a look at the quantum sector. I think just the big four, but if I got time, I'll try to look at a couple other ones. But what I think I'm gonna do is what I've been doing on the last couple videos. So I'll save my technical thoughts for after the opening thoughts. I generally say a little too much on this side. And I'm going to focus a bit on the NASDAQ because, look, again, we're talking about quantum stocks here, right? Quantum computers. It doesn't get much more technical than that, right? So it is very, very important that the NASDAQ does well. It is very, very important that QQQ does well. You can see they're basically mirror images of each other, all right? And you can see it right now. And again, I'll go back to NASDAQ just to show it, but the 8 moving average is doing a really good job, all right? I can easily say I was getting very worried going into Monday and Tuesday, and lo and behold, today did pretty well. A lot of it was what Powell said today. So Jerome Powell did speak today. Today was the FOMC, and really it was what was expected. I know a lot of people are focusing on no rate increase, no rate increase. Look, there was zero expectations of a rate increase, all right? What the guy said a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I really don't remember, but he was in Chicago at a conference. He basically said, hey, the data's looking scary. And I think today he by no means said the data is getting worse or anything like that. He gave some uncertainty comments, which I think are well worth the scare that we saw on the bottom of the wick, right? But I think the doji itself made a lot of sense because hey, there's uncertainty, but there's still time to evaluate the data. That's what he kept repeating, kept repeating, kept repeating, and they are well positioned to evaluate and react accordingly, right? So I liked what Powell said. I think the market liked what Powell said because really, as you look at the hour chart, it actually gets better after the guy speaks, right? I mean, can I zoom in more? Why can't I see? Here, let's go to the 15-minute. Zoom out a little bit, right? Zoom out a little bit. So this was the whole day right here. This was the May 7th full trading. He talks around 11:30 my time because I'm Western. That's basically 11:12. The 2:30 jump that you see right here, right? So I think the market was scared before he spoke. I think he said the right things and we see that follow through right there. So look, what's really important for NASDAQ continues to be the exact same thing. We need to get over 18,400 something, right? I think this golden line is actually a pretty good line right now. We need to get over 18,600 something. I think that's really the money line to break. The last thing we can do is lose 17,300. All right. When I look at QQQ, it's smaller numbers, easier to like and remember. We need to, I'll use this. Oh, that's easy. We got to get over 500. If QQQ can get over 500, this thing is good to go. And I think all tech will do really, really well. If we lose 470, that's going to be real bad. And again, we still see bouncing on the 8 moving average really well so far, right? But yeah, we got to see how we do against the 8 and the 20. So look, I think the last thing to look at, so QQQ makes a nice increase since the 7th. Getting into the technicals of what we're going to be looking at, I see the 7th uptrend right there. QBTS. Oh, not as much of an uptrend here. Interesting. The moving averages are really taking over right there. IONQ, what do you look like? I see the 7th uptrend right there. And then QUBT. Oh, get out of here. You're also a little bit on the choppy side. So interesting 50-50 split. Again, what I genuinely was expecting is if NASDAQ's going to bounce like that on the 7th, if the S&P 500 SPX is going to bounce like that on the 7th, I'm really surprised to see the choppiness and the horizontal on 50% of these. So, and again, you can tell I didn't look at these before I started recording, right? So yeah, I'm actually excited to look at these technicals and give some thoughts shortly. So before we do go any further though, and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we gonna do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. we have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal, yeah, that's the only one right here. That's fine. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it. All right, so, I accidentally saw it on the opening thoughts, and I think I'm going to start right here with it. Look, I'm a little surprised to see that QQQ, which is the same thing as NASDAQ, and SPY, which is the same thing as S&P 500, they both do a really nice uptrend from the 7th through today, all right? And we only see that on half of the big four. I think you can easily see it right here. I think you can easily see it on IONQ from here to here, right? But when we look at QBTS, that's completely horizontal. Maybe you can kind of say there's like a little bit there, but yeah, that's nowhere near the steepness. And then the same basic thing on QUBT, right? And really this candle closes right here. So this is literally from here to here, right? So yeah, it is very odd to see that 50-50 split, because generally the way the indices go is the way that the ticker should go, and yeah, I would have expected this exact same uptrend, the boom to boom, since yeah, a little surprising. So getting into Regati itself, so one thing I always talk about is volume, right? And you can see it. The average 50-day volume went really high when all of this volume was coming, right? There were days we were getting 300 million shares, if not more, right? All of a sudden we're well below 90% of that 300 number, right? And yeah, it's gonna hurt the volume, it's gonna hurt the volume, it's gonna hurt the volume, but we're now starting to come back to reality a little bit. And let me zoom in a little bit. What was missing the 50-day line by a lot is actually, so look, we're still missing it, and it's not a good thing, right? But we're missing it by less and less as the line comes down, and hopefully that reality of volume starts to come to an appropriate place. And yeah, if that white line can come down to about 25 million, basically half of where it is right now, I'm assuming it's near 50. Yeah, it's near 42, a little less than half. That's going to be a real good place for Regati. Let me see if that echoes QBTS, if that echoes across. Yeah, look, it does, right? It's not as drastic here, but yeah, it actually kind of is. We go all the way up. This actually gets a secondary little pop right here too. So we're kind of still missing the line, but yeah, not by too much. Hopefully that reality comes in. IONQ, can we say the same thing? Yeah, not as drastic as Regati, I would say. And then QUBT, I think a little closer to Regati, but yeah, Regati seems like that most extreme volume like pump and dump. I don't want to use the word pump and dump, but you get what I'm saying, right? So, I think the technicals are all kind of saying the same thing right now. There are a lot of moving averages, and they're all basically just. I often say when there's a cluster of lines, when there's more than 3 moving averages, especially if there's 4 or even 5, you just go up, you go down and up, down and up, down, like you get sucked in and out of this tornado that the lines become, and for absolutely no reason at all you go down, for absolutely no reason you go back up, and you just go green, red, green, red, but the lines just keep getting tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. I think QBTS is the best no, was it not? Yeah, it was. I had a real hard zoom in, right? But it gets really tight and really tight and really tight, and now we're just at the point where we're either gonna go or we're gonna not go, right? And I think a lot of what's about to happen will be dictated by NASDAQ. And again, I gave my QQQ numbers and NASDAQ numbers earlier, but this either gets over 18.6 or at least starts making us believe we're going to go right back up to like 18.3, give or take. You know what I mean? That's going to do some really good things for all these tight clusters. If the opposite happens and all of a sudden we're starting to believe that we're going to come right back down to 17.2, that's going to be an issue, because really, look, even this thing is starting to become what was just one line and kind of two lines is now becoming three lines. We've got the other. This is becoming a cluster as well, right? So if the NASDAQ's going to be going in this up and down cluster, that's kind of what the they click it right, good. That's kind of what the expectation is going to be with these things, right? So right now, I think what's the common theme is the clusters are ruling this thing. You know what I mean? So what I would say is basically going to echo across all of them. I really like this stock over 1140. I think that's an alert I would actually want to set. 1140 is a beautiful line on RGTI. Okay, I think anything below 1140 is really tough trading, and I for sure would be very worried about this stock if it lost 840. I think that's a perfect one too. 1240 up, 840 down. If this loses 840, it will quickly fall down to 6. All right. So I want that 1240 break to hopefully retest that 20s, right? So I think that's going to be the theme, right? As we look at QBTS, D-Wave. Again, same basic thing, just different lines, right? I think this is going to need to break 740. No reason at all why they both had 40 cents at the end of it. But yeah, 740 up to make me believe we'll head to 11. I think this is a little low. I'm going to raise this a little bit, actually. I think it's right there. I think if this loses 660, very, very bad things will happen. And yeah, if I had to guess, this will come down to 5, if not even all the way as low as the 4s, all right? When we look at IONQ, look, IONQ isn't as tight, right? You can actually see some decent spacing between the 5, but again, as I look at NASDAQ, as I look at QQQ, I see some spacing, but I also see the cluster like getting tighter and together. And I think seeing that, seeing the same thing on IONQ, and really knowing that the rest of this quantum sector has all the lines tight, I think it's fair to believe that this is going to get tight, right? And we've been going down, going up, going down, going up, going down, going up, like we're just going down and up with what was just these lines. Now it's just these lines. I think now all 5 lines are going to be playing along pretty soon, right? But right now we're just kind of living and dying with the lines until something happens, right? So what I would say, I think what I'm going to do is lower this line. I'll lower this line to here. I think a little higher than that. That's our line. I think if this thing can get over 33.90, oh, I like it a lot. And really, there's a lot of reason to believe we'll go like over the 40s. I think that's a nice thing to say. I would be really worried around 27 because that's actually a pretty bad fall into the 24s. That's not a good percent right there. That might be a 20% drop right there. Really, the very scary comes in the 22 range, but hopefully we're not talking about 22 when we're sitting at a $29 share right now, right? So I think 33.90 is that line up. And then for now, we'll only worry about 27 being lost. And like I said, that's a pretty decent drop to 24 down there, all right? And then QUBT, yep, that's the last one I haven't touched. Again, it's not all 5 lines, but these are what look like 3 tough lines for this stock. This one I think has the smallest of all 4 in terms of volume, right? This thing is at 4 million. I just wanted to zoom back and see, but yeah, 4 million is the number that probably matters. If this can get over, I can't use that. That's a little high. Where are you? You're this line. All right, yeah, we'll use that line. If this can get over 755, I think there's reason to believe that this will go to 9. I would be pretty worried if this lost 660. I think that's a good one too, actually. 760 up, 660 down. The fear would be coming down to 550 right there, all right? Again, watch NASDAQ. If QQQ starts heading up towards 500, that's beautiful. If it starts falling towards 460, 470, that's worrisome, all right? And again, same exact thing when I'm talking about NASDAQ, just different numbers. I want to head up towards these 2 lines, not head down towards these 2 lines, all right? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so much.